Oh, blessed love, my family. Definitely give thanks for your presence with us. We glorify the life giver and the keeper of life himself, Emperor Haile Selassie first, and give thanks to the Sabbath order. Give thanks to the Lord of the Sabbath who is hearing our vows in this his holy day and in this his holy house. It is a joy. Yes, Emperor Haile Selassie to be exalted. We give thanks to the Father and the Mother of creation. Power and might of the Holy Trinity. And of course, your humble servant here with you, the Honorable Priest Isaac, just keeping a joy and just keeping an upful meditation at this hour. And what we are going to do, and this is Chalice Talk, by the way, your Sabbath edition of the talk. We usually record it prior to the Sabbath and upload it before the Sabbath comes in. But this evening, we will be premiering it on the Sabbath. Yes, so it will be premiered on the Sabbath day specifically. So we are here keeping it holy specifically and keeping it in the order of such a day. So I'm just humbling a bit for those who are coming in. Let me just remind you that the international Radio Anu, for sure, always streaming, never stop streaming. And of course, during the Sabbath day, it is Sabbath vibes all the way. So even when this is done, you just tune into Radio Anu. Of course, the link is in the description below, and it is just Nyabingi sound and of course the Rastafari culture going throughout the whole day. And of course, well, I mean, it's just righteousness on Radio Anu all the time, but on the Sabbath day, it kind of more tighten up, strictly Nyabingi, everything put aside, all the ads and all the business aspect gone to rest. Is just Nyabingi going through the earth, what do you say? And commercial free throughout the Sabbath day. Wonderful vibes, So what I'm going to do, this is Chalice Talk, and during Chalice Talk, we light up and blaze the chalice, before we actually begin whatever it is that we are penetrating on. But let me just tell you that the chalice already done sail off already. So we give thanks. This will be the second draw that we will be taking. But what I'm going to do, I will be highlighting for you a touch of the interview that we did with Brother Rabbi Adonis of Rastafari Jews. Many ones will know him as Rastafari Sabbatical. Yes, he kind of went off of the radar for a moment, in at least many people's radar. Some of us knew where he was, but he was taken down. His channel, Rastafari Sabbatical, was dismantled from the YouTube. We talk a bit about that in the interview. As I said, that will be aired on Sunday the 27th of February. That is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So now he is under the name of Rastafari Jews. So on YouTube, those of you who are fans and followers and subscribers of the Rastafari Sabbatical, you can find him Rastafari Jews. Make sure you link in and become a member of that team there as well. So Sunday, I'll be giving you the full interview. You may have seen a bit of the interview, the same interview. I think we uploaded a video. Well, we did upload a video, but I think it was a day or two ago, highlighting part of the reasoning that we had. And I'm going to somewhat do the same now. We are going to touch upon just one segment when I was asking him about the true name of Christ. Because, of course, the brother is well-versed in different languages. And he even showed that English is not his first language. And, of course, his Ethiopian link and speaking about Amharic and the Hebrew. Oh, man, we had a wonderful sit-down when it came to the whole understanding of the different tongues, especially in the East and the Far East. And those of you who will be with us on Sunday live on YouTube, it will be good you get it live, well, when we premiere it, in the same way that we are premiering this video, it would be good so that you can, of course, comment and maybe weigh in as well with, of course, respected and respectful, upful comments. We don't want to be entertaining these sort of ill energy that some people seem to walk with in this cyber world. Let's just keep it wholesome, family. We're not here to disrespect nobody. Let's just keep it wholesome. We have a very wholesome record within our platform amongst ourselves and those who engage with us. Let's keep it that way, for sure. What me and the brother will be speaking about is just good vibes, good knowledge, good information. Even if you disagree, you could just let us know, hey, I believe it's this way or that way. That's not no big problem. And we just all, keep the energy. All right. Definitely. Give thanks for your presence with us right here. Give thanks for the Sabbath day. And as I said, this video as well will be a premiered video. So we would be just giving the family some time to come in and settle themselves. And of course, in the Sabbath order as well, for sure. All right. What we're going to do, we're going to go to the video. 2.5 hours worth of reasoning, more than that, but 2.5 on camera and some more off the camera for sure. All right. Give thanks for the chalice, and of course, give thanks for the life giver and the keeper of life. Give thanks in all ways. King Selassie, Jah Rastafari. Blessed Lord, give thanks.
The only problem is that we have not put it within the biblical and the scriptural context. That though we may recognize that Black people are great and that even the Israelites may be Black and we are connected or are those people, we still have not deconstructed these faulty paradigms that says that Noah had 3 different sons of 3 different races. That's spooky to me. That's spooky. I never seen that. You know what I mean? Not like that. Now, they might have looked different as melanated people, like children, like your brother or your sister. You all might not look the same and you have the same mother and father, because we have genes and genes and genes, that may show up. But definitely not going to be like one is going to be blonde and one is going to be like Asian of the Far East and one's going to be like, a deeply melanated African and one is going to be like blue, like a Hitler Aryan.
Blonde, but hear this now. I want to ask you, I have a few more things to ask you before we see it. But I want to ask you now, the name of the Christ. Now, when I say the Christ now, the actual name, because we still on language. I know we've dealt with a lot of language this evening here. So the Iyesus Christus that we use, is that Greek? Okay. Maybe I should say if it's Greek, because I think ones would argue that it's Greek, but is it Greek from an African origin, or are we borrowing a Greek term for the Christ, or is it the Hebrew name, Yeshua? So what is the actual name for the Emmanuel? When I say the Emmanuel, I mean not Haile Selassie, we know Haile Selassie is the Christ. The Christ from that time that the world speak about. The Iyesus Christus then, is that his name, his actual name, or how close to his name can we get from your understanding, my Lord?
How the eye articulates. Give thanks, my brother. I like how the eye articulates the question right there. Because a little bit of the answer I hear in the articulation. I hear some of the answer in the articulation right there. Iyesus Christos, Iyesus Christos.
And before he go into that and all of that, let me just say, before we go thus far, family, share the video for me, please. It's a humble request. Just share it. Share the link, copy and paste. You don't even have to copy and paste now. Just go and press share button and they'll tell you what to do and ask you where you want to share it. Easy stuff. Share it for me. You have a Facebook account, you have an Instagram account, share it. Because I know a lot of you, I know the reasoning hasn't really begun, but I know a lot of you, you're already looking forward to it. You expect something good from the good brother. And it's going to be wholesome. So what we can do is assist, because remember, we've done programs where we're showing you that the duty of everyone is to spread the word, Remember, sharing the word is not like even sharing food. If you have a banana and you share it with me, you have to break it in two and give me piece and you have a lesser piece, But when you share, this, like sharing this, you don't have to break yours in half. The person gets the same amount of you. Wow, that's a unique, that's like the fish and bread stuff when everybody gets from the same one thing, because the fish and bread is knowledge and information. So share it. And there's no money that has to be spent to do this. This is the Sabbath day we premiering this. So this is a free thing. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't be premiering nothing on the Sabbath day. But what you doing watching YouTube on the Sabbath day, man? Yeah, because remember, I always like to use this example when we were in school, when the teacher would tell the students, everybody close their eyes. I don't want nobody to open their eyes. And somebody would go and tell the teacher, Ricky had his eyes open. And teacher says, so how you know that? I see man get blown for that already. Because their eyes open, because they're watching to see whose eye open and all of that. It's good to do good on the Sabbath day, and enough donkeys out there in the pit that need help. You understand? Yeah. So we give thanks, as I said, radio and streaming live all now. So, but it's Naya Bingi, and it's the art of going through. So family, share it. In a sense, it's almost the least you can do. Just let somebody else know. Put it on your page because it's vital information. People need to know what's going on here. People need to know the information. All right, give thanks. I have to take some time to say that because this is not just for you alone. Share it.
Okay, you said African origin. Greek comes from our African, or what I can say is our Afro-Semitic languages and not the other way around. That was Greek. I see Greek from my studies. When I look at ancient Sabian, like the Queen of Sheba, Sabian, and even like Merway, like Candace, the Queen. When I look at how they write the language, and I start to study the ancient language, Greek actually is a later form of the Ionian speech. And the Ionians were people that were related to the Egyptians. We find them on the wall mine. Black people. The people that we call the Greeks, who were the albino or the white Greeks, or were the Hellenists, Hellas, the children of Hellas. They call them Helen, right? And they call them the Graikoi. These are people who came to the civilization and upset the civilization. Almost similar, basically, to what the white man did when he came to America and ran out the native people, or what he did in South Africa, in Australia, is the same thing that he did in ancient Greece and in ancient Rome. So what he did was adapt a Black culture, or a culture that was founded by Black people, and he introduced something. So when we look at the Greek of the New Testament, the Greek of the New Testament was written by ones who were Hebrews, but ones who were Hebrews who were bilingual. So they chose certain words within the Greek language. It's like right now, we write something in English as Rastafari. Some words we don't like to use. You know that already. Some words we don't really like to use as Rastaman when we speak. We'll choose another word. Like overstand. It's like I heard the eye on a few interviews and reasonings where you had to explain to ones overstand and how we articulate. Now, in the same way, if you were to write about the revelation of Rastafari in a document, a text, even if you knew Amharic or Ge'ez fluently, but you're writing it for the people, you're not going to write it right today. If you are a master of the linguistic Amharic, Hebrew, and everything else, and Rastafari, but you're going to communicate to Rastafari people, you're not going to write it in English. You're not going to write it in Hebrew. You're not going to write it in Hebrew or in Amharic. Like right now, if I want to reason and share this deep truth of Haile Selassie and I and how I can overcome, I'm probably not going to put it in Amharic. Imagine I publish a book in Amharic. If I publish a book in Amharic, I say this.
You're gone mute. I don't know what happened. You're just gone on mute. Maybe hit the mute button. Yeah, you're gone on mute. Yeah. You went as soon as they say if you publish the book in Amharic. Because I get the point, but go ahead.
Yeah, so the New Testament originally was communicated by those so-called Jews, Judeans, who were Black melanated people. Tacitus, the Roman historian, said that the Jews of the first century were of the race of the Ethiopians. Others say likewise. So the name Iyesus Christos was the closest way within the limitation of the so-called Greek language that we could communicate. It's like, I compare it with when we say Kedamawi Haile Selassie. When I hear and I see different brothers and sisters write Kedamawi, essentially some write QA, some write QI, some write Q apostrophe, DM, some write KEDAM, AWI. Some write, what I mean? Different ones write it different ways, right? Now, in some of the ways that Kedamawi is written, I, as a linguist, would say that's not really correct. But then understanding that it's our people with this true knowledge and a new knowledge as true knowledge who are like little children. We're like little children. We just learn like, well, actually, first I is Kedamawi, and it's not at the end like Haile Selassie I, but it's in the first. So we're becoming familiar with it. So in the same sense that when we write in the English Haile Selassie's name, it's not exactly like the Amharic.
Yes.
Or the Gut, exactly, because the name is actually Gutters. It's a two-part name. It's not exactly, the way it is in Amharic. It's a facsimile. But the main point of us writing it in English to the best of our ability is to do the best of our ability to communicate the truth of Rastafari. So that's the same thing with the Iyesus Christos. No, Iyesus. Yeah, see, we say the I as Rastafari and how we've been taught English. We say the I. When we see I, we say that's I. But if in English, sometimes the I can be I as like the pirate, I, A-Y. Sometimes it can be like I, E-Y-E, A-Y-E. Sometimes it can be E. It can be the E sound. Sometimes but the I.
Yeah, but still on the eye. But like how the eye has so much power, and the power of the eye, and even Rastafari, the movement and the people have taken up the eye. I don't know if you heard when Bongo Flacco was here and he was talking about them elders that used to talk just in I alone, I, and I. So there's a power in the eye. But Rastafari, because they have some friends that are very strict with that right now. The man say man should be stopped saying Jah Rastafari. We should say Rastafari. No, of course we grow in knowledge, and we understand, okay, that may have been the exact, we respect that. Rastafari. How you look upon that for sure, as far as using Rastafari, especially in chanting too. Like you hail the king and they say, yeah man, Rastafari, Rastafari. Understanding the power of the eye, and look how you're breaking down the eye for eye. Enough different levels you have the idea. That's why I brought in that question.
There's a verse says like why be, why be like not to be over righteous, and some would say and neither be over ratchet. Not to be over righteous, but sometimes we do get zeal. Some we get zeal. Zeal is sometimes good to show that we still in the living. You know what I mean? So then the zeal is, so we need the zeal to keep the blood, so that we need pepper, we need the heat in with food, you know what I mean? To create the sweat is healing. So the zeal of our brothers and sisters is sometimes necessary. Even myself, I had a zeal when I found out that Rastafari don't mean head creator. I think I probably heard or maybe heard one speak on that, and we brought this kind of forward for over some time. We've been speaking to one that Rastafari doesn't mean head creator, but for myself as a Rastafari, I'm not gonna say it was a conflict, but there was a little crucifixion, like in the higher mystical state, where the crucifixion takes place in the mind as well. Like, what I mean? It can take place in the heart.
What did it mean? Isn't it chief administrator, something of the sort?
You talking about Rastafari?
What was the right meaning for it in our English talking?
Okay, Ras means head, and Ras means self in the language, but as a title, Ras as a word means head and means self. So in Amharic, if I say Rase, like Rase is to say my Ras. or yene ras, my head. I can also be saying in the language myself, like in expressing in the Ethiopian language, I'm gonna say myself, like it's in the rase, in the like rase, like myself, for myself, as for myself. So as a word in Amharic, ras means head and self, but as a title, it's like a duke, it's like a kind of a prince, you know, it's like a prince, it's like a head, like a chief. It'd be like chief, like in the sense of a chief, like instead of the chief of the tribe, be a chief. So teferi, the Amharic way of saying it is teferi. But in English, how do we get it? We got it because the white man and others transliterated it as Tafari. If you remember the old writings, it was T-A and the A had two dots over it. If you look at the old way in the old books, the T-A, like the A had two dots over it. The A had, both A's had two, that A with the two dots linguistically is a sound. But we saw it as Tafari. So the English reader see Tafari, even with those two dots there, as Tafari. So we say Rastafari, and it is true in the English that we speak. But my challenge was, wait, Rastafari means the head to be reverenced, or it can be interpreted as self-respect on a mystical, higher level. You know, taking the name, the literal name was like the head or the chief, the prince, to be reverenced, the prince to be respected, the prince to be reverenced. You know, the parable of Iyesus Christos, or Iyesus Christos, where he says that there was a rich man that owned a field, and he left it to the husbandmen, like the church and the preachers and the pastors, to maintain, and he went to a far country. And then he sent servants to check on his land. And the servants thought, because the master was gone for a long time, that what was left, it was their thing. So they killed the different servants that the master sent. Then he said, you know what? Perhaps they will reverence my son. And he sent his son. Now, when I read it in Amharic, we get the sense of tefara that comes out there, because of the idea of reverencing or fearing or respecting is the feri, farah, teferi, you know, is that sense in the linguistic of the language. So we should not be overzealous. It's understandable that we can be overzealous in the sense of saying, well, the correct Ethiopian way Ethiopians speak it is Rastafari, Rastafari, Rastafari. But that don't mean that we all should start to try to change our voice to say Rastafari. You know what I'm saying? Rastafari, right? We should practice it so we get used to, you know, we vibes it out.
Don't get too fanatical.
Exactly. So I think that that's what happened, because it becomes a new knowledge. And when I first was recognizing that I had to say something on Rastafari, doesn't mean head creator. I thought I heard Bob say it, Burhana Selassie. I heard different minds say it. I heard different elders say it. And I'm saying, man.
No worry, man. We progressing, man.
Are wrong. So, you know, the Ira told me, the Holy Spirit, the Ira said, say it like this, say it as it is, but don't have personal. You know what I mean? At first, I was a little bit overzealous. Let me just be honest right here before the priest, and just acknowledge before the priest right here that initially I was a little overzealous. You know, how come man saying this? That's only half stepping. I was on all those levels. But then I had to recognize that, well, you, myself, the spirit said, the Irish, like Haile Selassie, the small still voice said, you have been put in a position where you wasn't even speaking English as your first language. English is not even my first language. You know what I mean? But I was able to master English. English is easy, more or less, but English is my first language. So now, how would it be that I had a little advantage to help to edify the body of Rastafari, and I come, you know, like because I can know this. Ones are just learning this. So to put it across in grace, and what about those who said it meant head creator? I said, that's grandfather. You know when they say something is grandfathered in or grandmothered in?
Definitely.
For the mother and father. They didn't know these things. Whoever, it's like Sata Masagana. Sata Masagana doesn't mean give thanks, right? Now, see, Sata in Amharic should be Seta. Seta mean he gave, Seta. Saying Sata means he erred. Sata
He earned.
Seta means to give. Sata, right, means he earned.
Yeah, that's one.
But if you look in the dictionary and nobody teaches you, nobody, it's like the Ethiopian eunuch. He obviously was a Black Jew. He went to worship. He was reading the book of Isaiah. So that means Isaiah was something that was interesting to him. You know what I mean? He went to Jerusalem, the Ethiopian eunuch. He went there. And when Philip said, my friend, do you understand what you're reading? What did the Ethiopian eunuch say? Boy, get from here. You think me ignorant? Of course we know what we read. No, what did the Ethiopian eunuch say? How can I unless some man guide me? Yeah. That reminded me of the Rasta man from such a time. Is man still want to sit up and reason. Even though I know thing, I want to reason with my brother and I can always learn more thing. Right? But like some man may be arrogant. Right? Can't teach me nothing. So the Ethiopian eunuch even showed that the necessity of reasoning. So Sata, the problem was this. I had to try to figure out why were we saying Sata Masagana. I want to heal up the Abyssinians because actually my wife and me had met one of the brothers. I don't know which exactly brethren it was. I remember him by sight, but I don't want to misname his name. But they actually did a re-recording of it because they must have came across some of the things that we were saying and everything, that Sata Masagana. But I was trying to say at the same time that let's not be like in a knee-jerk hypocritical reaction, because the error was innocent. It was us looking in a dictionary and
so it's good still to say Rastafari then.
Of course, I mean, we're still speaking English. We still are speaking English, and how we got to know, like, for example, you know why a lot of us say Selassie I? If you read the papers, the newspapers from back in the 70s and the 60s and 70s, the newspapers in the West often said Emperor Selassie I. That's how I say his name, Emperor Selassie I. That's how they say his name. So we over here as the people of the land, the people of the earth, Rastafari, I read a newspaper. See, here it said Emperor Selassie I. Yes, Selassie I. That's how we went about it. There was nothing untoward. We had no scheme or whatever, but we're growing. As we grow, we recognize that the Western media was too, they took advantage, how can I say, they took a great license to kind of say his name as Emperor Selassie. This is how the West do. This is how they do in the West. Yes, so, yeah, we can still say Rastafari in the sense of we're speaking it in the English way, but now we should also have the education to know that.
But you see, I was talking about, but in reverence now, because if you get in reverence now and in reverence and churchical and so, and you may want to get it as correct as you think it should be. But anyway, we can hit that the next time. I want to share something with you now that I want you to. And that is where we did seal off, even at the beginning of the previous one that I even shared with you. But as far as that reason, we give thanks, for the good brother and the whole session there. In fact, even just coming into that, let me just share a bit before we came into that.
Think about what happened. If you have a servant that doesn't have a master, and the master doesn't know he's the master. But one thing we'll notice is that some of them were dark, reddish, brown.
Yes, black people. Right.
That's the truth of the matter. The original Greeks, for example, the original Greeks, right? And I don't like to use that term, but you have to kind of use some word to at least point to anchor what you're saying. But the original people that inhabited the Isles that they call Greece were called Ionian people.
Ionian. That's the word I was looking for in my mind. Yes.
Minoans. Now, the thing about linguistics, write Ionian, right? If you write Ionian, if we have like a blackboard or whiteboard, Ionian, Ionian, right? Right? That's how they write it, Ionian, But Ionian is a contraction from Javan. So the word actually in the Bible is Javan, Javan. That's the King James.
Yes, Javan.
There's no V. sound in ancient Hebrew. There's no V sound. So it wouldn't be Javan. Javan, it'll be Yawan, Yawan, Yawan. And Yawan, if you contract it, it'd be like Y-A-N, but the sound becomes, how can I say, the Y-A-W-A-N, Yawan, Yon, Yon, Ion. In other words, it morphs into, and linguistically, Ionians come from Javan. You know, Javan in the Bible, we talk about Javan.
Definitely, totally with you.
We go to Kemet, we go to Mitzrayim, we go to the wall paintings. We see a people that's known as the Keftiu, the Keftiu, the Keftiu. K-E-F-T-I-U is the transliteration, Keftiu. The Keftiu, they came to ancient Egypt and they offered gifts to the pharaoh, so on and so on. But these are, if you're on the wall paintings, they're Black people. They're Black people, and they're basically the people from the Isles of Crete and Greece. These are Black peoples. So the original Ionians are even people and testified on the monuments in Egypt. And when you see how the Egyptians drew them, and then you see the Minoan art, you say these are the same people. The way the Minoans drew themselves. But one thing we'll notice is that some of them were dark, reddish, brown skin, right? Some were dark, reddish, brown skin, some were light skin. So even our differences in complexion was not due to a mysterious white man, you know what I mean, lighting us up. In other words, we had differences in complexion, right? Even before the white man, as we know him today, existed. We had differences in features, and different features. So basically, even they call the Ethiopians, white people call the Ethiopians the darkest Caucasians. You haven't seen it. There's a video.
Yeah, come with them foolishness there. Yeah, man. And a race of black. Yeah, man, I hear them.
But hold on. You ever really research the Caucasian people? The Caucasian is a misnomer. The Caucasian people, from what I've researched, these were people that were light in complexion, like whitish looking complexion. But some of them had very woolly hair.
I'm the life giver, the keeper of life, King Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. So once again, let me just highlight that one can even contact the brethren, that is brother Rabbi Adonis, Rasiadonis, Rastafari Sabbatical, but of course, Rastafari Jews at Rastafari Jews. And of course, we'll be hearing that full reasoning. The brother goes into the whole aspect of the Lion of Judah Society. He has a very wonderful story to tell, really, as far as his rites of passage, really, his journey, I should say, his journey through Rastafari and becoming where he was from the late 80s, early 90s as Rastafari, from the time frame, if I'm not mistaken, from what he gave to us in that interview. And of course, you know, the link with Ethiopia and everything. Went deep into a lot of the whole aspect of the language and the importance of the tongue, which really, you know, is something that I would say I don't think Rastafari pays that much attention to. And that is why ones may feel something, you know, feel away if they think they're challenging me for not saying Jah, Rastafari. Ones actually do that, you know. Yeah, man, you know, people would send you messages all the time saying, brother, I like to hear you, but you need to stop saying Jah. There's no J in the, there's no letter J until the 1600. And those of you who really sit with that, you always hear me somewhat kind of make a little joke by saying, and you know, I'm not a follower. You understand? You don't get up and just follow every little wind that blows. I have some people like that, you know, every new information, the way they take, no matter what it is. If it's the earth flat today, they just hear it and just hear it, you know. Wow. Yeah, man, that sounds serious, but boy, that's serious. And the way it's just reality. I'm not dissing nobody. I mean, I know people like that. The newest thing, and they'll change their mind next week. I'm serious. There are people like that. No disrespect. I'm not saying all people are unbalanced. Like there's people that specifically have that spirit there, changing the wind and the women. ready to go next week. Really, you know. So really the whole sit down was marvelous. The different topics that we touched, the different areas, as I said, the language, you go amongst the Muslims and you'll be speaking all day long about what the Quran says, and Muhammad says this, and Muhammad says that you should not do this on Sunday, and Muhammad, then he grew his beard, and you sure that's what it says? And yeah, do you know the language? Huh? Al salam alaikum wa alaikum salam, inshallah. And wow, you lost now. You don't even know what's going on, because the order comes with a language. The religion comes with a lingua. The Jews are even the Hebrew Israelites, because you know, when them brethren's debating, if it's one thing, when you come into the debate, especially if you want to be debating Bible, because one could use that like a last resort. Even they might see they're losing the debate. Remember, you're debating in English all the time, you know. Bam, bam, you're losing the debate. Wow. But what, you know a little Hebrew on their belt, so you say, hey, listen, can you read Hebrew? I mean, we're speaking about the Bible all night long. Can you read the original language that it was written in? If you can't read the language, you lose the debate. People, if you can't read the language, you should boo him. You never say. Yeah, give thanks to the Sabbath. True man, give thanks. Holy man, Selassie, Rastafari. But yeah, you know, yeah, that is it. See, the Sabbath day perfect. Yeah, man, in all humility, we just come with remembrance, you know. Not that nothing I do it wrong, you know, but just a little passion getting there, you know. But it's for real. What the point I was really making is that depending on what concept and what theological outlook that you are dealing with, you know, at the same time, in that way, a language really goes with it. So it's a very important thing, even when you're dealing with, okay, Hindu tradition, obviously, a language go with that, but you see the reason why it's just natural automatically that the Hindu quote unquote religion goes with the Hindi is the Hindi language. That's what's called Hindi. Sometimes called Hindi, sometimes called Hindu. Yeah, okay, very good. Give thanks, honorable princess. The Hindu language is because that is very much closer to home. So the Hebrew Israelites, good vibes, but it's very far away from home. Very, very far away from home. It's the slaves rebelling and trying to find an identity for themselves, you know. So they're nowhere close to their language. They have to go and study it, and not all of them take the time to study it. The Black Muslims in America and in the West, you know, very, very far away from home. Very far away from home. Even if you say the origin is Arabia or Africa, anywhere over there, they're very far away from home. Far away from the culture, far away from the identity. They ain't no Arabic. You know, if they're very serious, they have to start read and learn the Quran. And so if they grew up in the culture, they would know the Quran inside out and backward in the language. So the Hindu and the Hindu religion, literally, they grow up together because they've never been enslaved as such. You know, a few of them came over as indentured servants, but in general, they've never been enslaved. So I'm saying all of that, you know, I'm getting to a point to come forward to Rastafari, because in the same interview, I asked him, you will see when you listen on Sunday, when you watch on Sunday, pardon me, I asked him about those two specific languages, being Hebrew and, or I should say two specific languages, because I was Hebrew and Amharic. I was speaking of Arabic before. Hebrew and Amharic. And he spoke of all of that, you know, how you, in the importance of if you're going to speak it right, Rasta and the rolling of the tongue and so. Yeah, man, wonderful reasoning, I must say, very joyful. So I asked him about those two specific languages, as he would have, he speaks both of them, and he always uses them interchangeably. You know, he doesn't push too much of any other Ethiopian language, and he may touch upon the gaze. We went into all of that. In fact, I could tell you now, he considers the Amharic as the pure language. So I asked him how he came to that conclusion, and I'm not going to try to explain it for him. Just make sure you're sitting with us to get a better understanding of that. So, okay, so let's just say that is it. The Amharic, because when he brought me there, because remember, the Bible is Hebrew now, you know. But yet still, if you're really a tiger's nest cub, you would know that we have our questions. It's not just even questions. We just say questions for conversation's sake. But we don't know and show that the what is known as the Bible didn't come from no Hebrew source. Now, of course, people that never really sit down and take the time to hear what we have to say. Of course, they're going to stand up and boo and say, no, man, no, me walk out there, you know, man, because what? Because it's something new. Yeah, a lot of things that we speak of is just brand new things. All of Africa plus Arabia is the land of Israel according to the Bible. No, man. People get up and walk out because it's something new. It's not as if they even heard it somewhere else. You know, Haile Selassie is the Osiris man. Haile Selassie is Orion. No, man, you've gone too far now because it's something brand new. It's not as if it's something, you know, it's brand new to many. Maybe, you know, maybe it has been spoken in a little pocket somewhere, I don't know, but to be revealed to a masses, yeah, man, it's something brand new. So when they hear something brand new, sometimes they take a time to move to it. So I'm saying that the Bible, remember the oldest Bibles in the world, not just the Bible, oldest Bibles is in Ethiopia. None of them in Hebrew. All of them in Ge'ez. And you see the thing why I say Bibles, because when you hear people say about the oldest Bible, they think it's like a one Bible, like a one book in some museum somewhere. No, man. Listen, I'm telling you, I'm positive they don't know the oldest Bible in Ethiopia. It's not as that Ethiopia have the oldest Bible. Listen, hold on. When you're talking about them other old Bibles and you say which is the oldest text and the oldest Hebrew text, and then you get into the Leningrad codex, and give me the next one then, one of them codex there, and you know these different books there, you know. And even go as far as the scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls, Septuagint. I don't think they have the original Septuagint though, but the oldest Septuagint. These things, you may have them in a museum somewhere. You know, you have it somewhere in a box, somewhere well put away, guarded maybe. You know, and here it is. You understand? That's not the case in Ethiopia. It's not no one special book. That is the oldest book here. Ethiopia is littered with very, very ancient literatures in general, pardon me, biblical literature, pardon me, in general. So we're talking of Old Testament, New Testament, and other books that obviously we're not familiar with. The Book of Enoch is Ethiopian. Even books like the Kebra Nagas and so, them is churchical books, you understand. But the understanding of what we call the Bible, what they call the canon, Ethiopia has the oldest manuscripts in general of that book, not there in Hebrew. This is what I'm saying. And the Septuagint in 285 BCE being translated from the Torah in a room that was filled with scrolls. We've shown the picture before. I honestly didn't have none of that lineup. We just Charles talking. But you've seen it. We have done these documentaries already. You don't know how it goes. You just have to go into the channel and surf through. Enough knowledge there behind it, they say. Enough unraveling and enough things. Yeah. And so 72 scholars from the Levant came into Alexandria in Northeast Africa, in Kemet, in Egypt. And they went into the library of Alexandria, specifically the museum, as it was called at the time. That is where the term museum comes from. Originally was a temple for one of these specific gods, Dionysus, and then became the museum. You could go and research it. And inside of this museum, Ptolemy, you know, the supposed pharaoh of Egypt. You know Ptolemy, those of you who don't know, Ptolemy is the Greek, general, one of the generals of Mr. Alexander, the same Greek too. And Mr. Ptolemy, you know, was supposedly running the show. And them fellas, they demolished or tried to demolish so many of the temples, and this is the age of the scrolls. These fellas here took the scrolls and packed them up in this library. That's why you have artwork of that time where you would see people inside of this great library of scrolls, double deck high, you know, different compartments, ladders you have to climb up and pull out the scrolls. Yeah, see, like when we watching Kung Fu Panda there, and when his name there, Shifu, go up and get the scroll. There's so many knowledge. What did he say? Wisdom. There's so much. Say it for me. There's so many wisdom that I can't find anything. There's so many wisdom in here that I cannot find anything. So much. But if you've ever seen that, you see how in there full of scrolls on the ground. That's how it is in the museum. It's full of scrolls, but it's well kept, nothing on the ground. And the artworks can prove it. So if you just type in the museum, it's very easy to remember the spelling. I think it's spelled mouse, I-O-N. That's how I remember it, museum. I think it's spelled mouse, I-O-N. And you would see pictures. The artwork, obviously, 285 BCE. So, you know, it wouldn't be a Kodak moment, but you'll see the artwork. So, and I'm just giving you an idea of how the interior would be. So the reason why I went into all of that, you know, is a picture I'm drawing for you. I want you to get clearly what's going on. And Mr. Ptolemy commissioned 72 scholars from the Levant. This is the area, you know, Lebanon and Palestine, them place there, Jordan, so that's what it's called, the Levant. And these brothers came in because more than likely they were brothers. But anyway, they came in, and what we are to believe, this is some serious stuff. We can't trust history. We got to be very careful with history. That's why so many people rise up with so many different theories, even down to the shape of the earth, you know, because of some serious mistrust of those who supposedly are the custodians of so-called history too. Yeah. Very serious. All right. So the scrolls. So this Mr. Ptolemy, he is the individual. What he really did, even before we get to them people here, he actually burnt down again or tried to demolish all them temples, and he packed the scrolls, because scrolls were in all the temples, into the museum. And in came the scholars. And we are to believe again that the scholars translated a book known as the Septuagint, which is Greek for 70. As you could see, sept, S-E-P-T, sept, like September. That is how we know. No, not that is how we know, but that shows you also that September is the 7th month from the calendar from where the name originally came from. Follow me. 7-11. So Septuagint, 70, is because of the 70, which is really 72. Deep science by itself. Some Masonic vibes going on even with that alone. But 70, 72. But anyway, tempted to kind of go into it and explain that, but that's some heavy scene right now. I don't want to leave that to go to that. I want to stick on this point. You know what I mean? So not tempted, but the vibes. Them is not the best word at all. But hear me good. So the Septuagint, as I said, is supposed to be the Greek version of the Torah. Okay, straight to the chase. The Septuagint, which is translated by the 72 scholars from the Levant. They took the Torah, the ancient book, the Torah, and they translated the Torah, family. Please listen to me. They translated the Torah and got the Septuagint, the Greek version. So even when Christ in the Bible was reading the Bible, in a sense, and he was saying the book of Isaiah, where to understand it was the Septuagint he was running through. All right. I think the Bible says he closed the book too. Yeah, I think the Bible actually says he closed the book, so it's not a scroll then. I stand corrected there, but like my memory said, when he reached a certain part in Isaiah about the coming of the Lord, and he shut the book. All right, but yeah. So that is to show so the Septuagint, I don't know what fashion it was originally, but the point is we are told that the original Septuagint is not something that's available at this moment. All right, you have some old versions of it, but not the original. Fair enough. Here it is. The Torah now. This is important. If you are a student of knowledge and you're really checking for the truth, yeah, you have to, look at these things on this level. So the Torah itself now, the Torah itself specifically, that was used to translate into the Septuagint, that is not an artifact that can be found either. People don't even talk about that. You have to bring that up and say, well, so what about the book that they used to? Well, nobody have that. So what happened to it? That's not a discussion. You ever hear anybody say, we're in search of the lost Torah that was used to translate the Septuagint. Bam, 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 bam. That I was looking for the Ark of the Covenant. That I was trying to find the Holy Grail. The last book of Thomas. That I was on them kind of things. How come I never hear someone talk about the specific Torah? Because, okay, all Bibles supposedly would have their root in the Septuagint. Even before the New Testament, the Septuagint is not New Testament, it's Old Testament. So all Bibles would really have their, again, in the New Testament, in the Septuagint, pardon me, their root in the Septuagint. Good. So the Septuagint has its root in something else. The Septuagint has its root in something else. what is the Septuagint's root? Okay. What's the Septuagint again? This is a book that was translated by 72 wise men, commissioned by Ptolemy the Great. And he's a great too. Of course, you know, I say that in very with sarcasm and so, anyway, but I just check it. But anyway. And maybe they're great, you know, but a great what? So what will happen now? That Mr. Ptolemy himself, he would have commissioned the 72 to come and translate the material, again, the Torah, to make the book, the Septuagint, which became the Coptic Bible, the Syriac Bible, the Ethiopic Bible, the Russian Bible down the line. Then, of course, them German Bibles started to pop up the head, the British Bible, King James Bible, American New Version Bible, everything come from the Septuagint. That's where it started. But the Septuagint came from something else. This has become a classic. It wasn't planned so. But the Septuagint come from something else. The Septuagint again is 285 BCE, before the Common Era. Yeah. And the Septuagint was not taken from no Torah. This is what I'm saying. Some people may be just coming in, you know, but as I said, this has become a class. So I'm saying all of this, so even when you listen to the reasoning on Sunday, all of this will even be with you with an understanding, because as I said, I asked the brother, which one more important? He did highlight the Amalek. He did highlight the Amalek. Listen, family. The oldest Hebrew Bibles, you know, I don't know if the family really get this. The oldest Hebrew Bibles come after this, a Greek Bible, you know. The first Bible, in a sense, is a Greek Bible. It's not me saying this and I'm not fighting it, I'm fighting nobody believe it. The first Bible is a Greek Bible. You would say that the Septuagint was translated from the Hebrew Bible. Listen to me good. So these so-called old Bibles, like the Leningrad, I think that's about 1000 AD. That's like 1000 years, 1022 years ago. But it's old because it's one of the oldest retranslation from the Greek. The Greek, it was before all these old Hebrew Bibles. Now you go and search them out and go and take off the cobweb, boy. This old. How old is this, Sir Francis? Oh, that's about 1200 years old, you know. Sir Drake was the one that originally minted it, you know. Yeah, what is 1200 years? That ain't no long time ago. That ain't a long time ago. The Septuagint was written in 285 BCE, and it was written in Greek. I really want my family to get what I say, you know, because I know I will explain this clear, and I will still sit and hear people talk all kind of things totally out of the line as it relates to this very simple understanding, because the Septuagint now was translated from something. So if it wasn't translated from no Torah, So who tell you translate from a Torah? Who tell you that? Where's the proof? Where is the proof? Proof. But that it was translated from the Torah. Even those that will be watching the premiere in the chat, where's the proof? Like for proof, man. It's a proof, you know. You have to say, well, yeah, man, this is the proof that this is what it was translated from. And I will even assist, because you have to say, yeah, I will assist. Because if you're looking for an answer, the best answer you could bring is, to me, the Dead Sea Scroll is shaky, and we've done several programs on that. I wouldn't say many, several programs. But you have also scrolls like the Silver Scrolls. Many ones don't speak about these scrolls here. And they have some very good vital information. Don't get I wrong in it. But I don't want us to be dumbed down. And one should check out the Hezekiah seed. I will show it to you very soon. Clearly shows the link between Israel and Kemet. And King Hezekiah, proof of King Hezekiah, proof of King Hezekiah. Right. Family, when you read the same Septuagint, which is the Bible, everybody know, everyone know that ancient Kemet and its theology seems to be mimicked in the Bible. Everybody knows. Whether you agree or not with Kemet, whatever, but you know. Old and New Testament, from creation story, recreation story. I always highlight the story of Nun, you know, Nun, Joshua, the son of Nun, the son of the fish. All of them is some ancient Kemetic science. And I'm going to go into it in the depths, but even Heru with as the Christ figure, and Osiris and the God figure, and how everything is aligned. You know, when you read the Bible, and anyone who understands the Bible and understands Kemetic philosophy can align them together. And many of you, even though you don't understand both as much as maybe you would like to, I'm sure you've heard some sort of rational reasoning on the subject and can see, well, yeah, they seem to look alike. Come on, let's be honest. I don't want to go into the depths of it to try to bring it out. You know, I'm trying to even look to seal this discussion up, but let's just be honest. We all know that the Bible itself appears as if it is borrowing or somewhat mimicking from the ancient order of Kemet, you know, ancient order specifically of ancient Egypt, as they would call it, the Osiris principle, the Heru, as I said, even the creation story with Ra and Amun-Ra and Mut and Shu and Tefnut, and everything is there. It is just for you to check. Maybe a lot of the programs we have done where you could see that similarity played out. All right. So many people and many scholars would argue that the Bible borrowed from that philosophy, while some say that it borrowed from many different philosophies. All right, good. You see how intense and deep the reasoning can get? That's why you see me kind of skip over things, because I don't want the point I'm trying to make to get too far away. But I will get there, you know, once you can keep up with that. Just trust me. Good. Now, again, the Septuagint came out of a room that was filled with Egyptian scrolls. The Torah that it was translated from, nobody even know about that. It's not even a discussion. People forget about that, you know, like for real, you know, what we come with that book there? So technically it can't be proved, like proven. Well, the Dead Sea Scroll, listen, history don't say that the Septuagint was translated from the Dead Sea Scroll, you know, as we know it. No disrespect to the Dead Sea Scroll. Anyone could tell you the Dead Sea Scroll, in a sense, is not the Bible, you know, man. but the way it's aligned and, you know, the knowledge within it and all of these things would prove, let's just say, historical accuracy then to certain things aligned in the Bible. That's really the argument behind the Dead Sea Scroll. I hope the family is following what I'm saying. This is academical understanding here. You know, we're not trying to huff and puff too much, you know, we just want you to understand what we're saying. It's back to the Rabbi Rasiadonis reason. I coming back to, you know, the importance of Rastafari and a language. I sticking to the point that I started with maybe 30 minutes ago, Rastafari and a language. So again, to me, Hebrew get pushed aside. The ones would argue that Hebrew is not even as old as that. But I'm not getting there yet. To me, it get pushed aside. Because to me, it is obvious that the Septuagint, I mean, listen, make your point, please. It's obvious that the Septuagint was translated from them scrolls that were inside the place where the Septuagint come from. Countless of scrolls telling the same story as what you read in the Septuagint. And yet still we are told that the Septuagint is translated from another book called the Torah or the books of Moses, which the actual books are not there. I don't know if some Jewish rabbi have it somewhere and we just never hear about it yet. If so, but until, I'm going to say, and even still, it's obvious that the walls of Kemet, because the walls of Kemet, what's on the walls of Kemet is what's on those scrolls in. But they burn down the library with them scrolls. Maybe the book burned down in there too. Yeah. So I'm saying now, to me, really, when we say the Ethiopian Bible is the oldest known Bible, like complete Bible, and written in Ge'ez, it's older than any of the Hebrew Bibles. You know, the Ethiopian Bible is older than any Hebrew Bible. The Hebrew Bibles come after the Ethiopian Bible. Follow me, understand it. People gonna tell you the Hebrew Bible older. Which Hebrew Bible? The Torah, even the books of Moses that we call the Torah. So, okay, even if it's the scrolls of Moses they had there, that's not really a book. And the Isaiah books and so. No, I mean, the first Bible is the ancient Ethiopian Bible. The emperor say, we in Ethiopia have one of the oldest versions of the Bibles. And people, and to me, when the emperor said that, you know, I could only meditate maybe the Syriac Bible, and maybe the Coptic, but I mean, none of these Bibles usually come up, you know, when you are searching for the oldest Bible. And as I said earlier, the Ethiopian oldest Bible is not a Bible. The country full of old Bibles from long time. All of them may not be the same age. You know, all of them may not be however old the oldest one may be. But the country littered with old Bibles is just like Lucy the Ignish, the fossil of the oldest or one of the oldest, you know, what they say, pre-human, according to anthropology, but still is not just her alone. The whole area full of these things. They may not be as old as her. You may be able to find an older one somewhere else, but that's just one. The country full of enough of them, old and young, if you want to call it that. It's the same thing with the Bible. So we need to really give Ethiopia more credit with this Bible, the Ge'ez Bible too. Now he spoke he gave a real good understanding of why America not Ge'ez too. And I'm not going to explain it for him. I want him to, go into it himself. Talking about Rasiadonis when we link up on that one on Sunday. So yeah, so the language, for real. And I mentioned Kiswahili to him too, and we had a good discussion on that. But maybe as a somewhat of a clerical, not clerical if that's the right word, but churchical language, the Amharic. I mentioned what King Emmanuel said about Hebrew and Amharic as well in the Black supremacy. So the discussion really went along the lines of the language, very much so, lingua, and the different tongues, very, very much so, at least for a good time. And even when we changed the subject, it was still that we could still feed off of the language reasoning. So it was very wonderful. Yes, I give thanks, family. We'll hold up. And I know more. Thanks for the day of rest and tranquility. I would just invite ones to join us on Radio Anue. That is where we definitely bring forward the Sabbath sound. And definitely throughout the Sabbath, Naya being Giada, and of course, the culture from the Black Christ in flesh. As Radio Anu, of course, the link is in the description. You could just click in there, and if you're not going to the tabernacle, if you're not, going to no groundation, whatever the case is, and you're just one of them stay-at-home vibes, better stay at home than be going around the place, and you're just humbling in the casa, Radio Anu could comfort you, just letting you know, and you could feel the vibes and, sing some bingy vibes and listen to some good culture, coming directly from the priests and prophets of the Black Christ and one or two, documentations of good vibration related to I and I. Yes, family, whole of the love, heart of the love, give thanks for the royal Sabbath. All praises to the Black Christ in flesh, King Emmanuel VII, Adonai God, Jah Rastafari. Blessed love, give thanks. Yeah, man, Radio Anyway. Just go below the link and description and press the link. Bless.